Okay, so episode 6 of my PdWebParty tutorials. I thought I'd show a kind of fun and creative way, I think, of using some of the techniques I've shown so far. So this is a thing that I've made called Bad Mellotron. What Bad Mellotron is a sort of like web-based version of a mellotron, which was a sample tape-based instrument that was invented in the 60s and is still quite popular today. Okay, there's my bad mellotron. So what is bad mellotron and how does it work? Well, it's essentially 12 volume sliders. So the way I made this was I've taken the volume sliders that I was using previously, which go from 0 to 1 and which are named with a send and receive symbol, and I've set the parameters to init. And I've just named them all with 12 different names. So I've gone volume 0, volume 1 and receive volume 1, of course, volume 2 and receive volume 2, all the way up to volume 11 and receive volume 11. So then I've got a radio button, and what the radio button does is you can set the properties. I've set the number of cells. You can set this to be quite, I don't know if there's a limit, though you can make them enormous. And I've set a size to 40 that keeps them each segment is a square. So you just have one size controller. I've set 4 cells, and when I click on the 4 cells, it will send a number 0, 1, 2, or 3. If you have more cells, then obviously you can go higher than that. And of course, I've named it octave and receive octave, and I've set the parameters to init. Okay, so that's all of my interfaces here. Now in my controls, in the patch itself, I've got an array, which I've recorded the sound into now. So that's a sound of me going doo like that, which I'll show how to do that afterwards. I've set that array to be a specific size. So the size is 44,100, which is 1 second at a normal sample rate. And I've done this calculation divided by 44.1 and then 1000 divided by $f1, even though I know in the end that will be 1. But I just figured I would put this calculation in case I ever wanted to use a different length array. And I've got an octave controller here, which I'm taking this base number, which I'm sending out, called base frequency, and I'm multiplying it either by 0 to turn it off, so the leftmost state of the radio button turns it off, 0.5, which means it's half an octave, or an octave below half the frequency, 1, which plays it at normal frequency, and 2, which doubles the frequency. Then I have 12 little instances of this player system, this looping player system. And for each one, I take the base frequency, I multiply it by a number to make a specific note. So 1 is my tonic, my core tone, my non-changed frequency. That runs into a phasor, gets multiplied by the length of my array, which I know is 44,100. I use that to read the array, tab read for array, and then I send it out a volume. And this is the volume, the specific volume for that pitch, volume 0. So for each one of these, the 2 things that I've changed are this volume, or the pitch multiplier. So I've gone up by 1/12 each time. So the next step is 1.083, then 1.16, then 1.25, then 1.3, then 1.416, and so on. So each one of these is 1/12 of a step higher. So I'm going equal temperament tuning, and it's also pretty, I'm not bothering to be super precise with it. And then each one is going out a volume controller that is controlled by the different slider. Volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, volume 4, volume 5, volume 6, etc. So similarly to the last patch, if you were to do this in a regular PD way, you could do this in a much more efficient method where you just have like the clone object or something, and then an abstraction, and then just have that number as a variable. You can't really do that because you need to have the whole patch self-contained in PdWebParty. So I've just copied and pasted and changed those numbers, and I tried to make everything as easy for myself as possible. I've just had 12 instances of these, so it only takes a few minutes, and then I have a single volume controller for all of them. And that means, in the end, what I get is a quite satisfying way of playing with the sound. Now, if I wanted to make this a little bit better, I'd probably make this change in a bit of a ramp or something. I could make it, I could give it a sort of portamento, which could be quite nice. So I could potentially do that. Maybe I'll do that in my when I follow it up. And there was something else I was going to change. There's loads of stuff you could change. To show how I loaded this sound in, I just used ADC, which is the kind of audio input, into an object called tab right tilde, and I have to name it my array, so sound. I put those in, and then I use a message called start. When I click start, it will just start recording at the beginning of this array and then stop at the end when it gets to the end. So what I'm going to make is a continuous sound, then click start, and then I'll continue the sound for a second or so, and you'll see it update. Ooh, there it is. And now you'll hear a different sound. Whoops, not that. There it is. I think that one might be better, so I might keep that one and keep that one instead of the previous sound I had. And I might experiment with a sort of portamento octave thing to see how it sounds, and might include that in the patch and then push it. Okay, so that's how I did the bad mellotron, which is essentially taking a single sound array and reading it at 12 different pitches. And having each one of those pitches be independently volume controlled, which is fun, with an octave controller. Okay, cool. A lot packed into that one, but I hope that's interesting. Okay. I'll do another slightly more advanced